This is from, he's a Fox correspondent. His name is Trey Yingst, leading voice in war reporting. Okay. He is a chief foreign correspondent for Fox News. Okay. He's a photojournalism for experienced humans. All right. New York Times bestseller of Black Sunday. He has this post here. Let me go down and get it. It's here. He posted this on January 23rd. Iran is rapidly accelerating uranium enrichment closer to weapons grade levels. Their breakout time for a nuclear weapon is measured in weeks. Quote, they are pressing the gas pedal, close quote. UN nuclear watchdog chief Rafael Grossi warned on Wednesday. Iran is rapidly accelerating uranium enrichment closer to weapon grade levels. Their breakout time for a nuclear weapon is measured in weeks. Why do I point this out in connection? Because Iran. They despise Israel. Right? They were behind the October 7th massacre. Right? And they have threatened Israel with nuclear, with complete annihilation if they have the ability. So that's from that, and I went, and I'm going to go get this UN watchdog chief Rafael Grossi. So let me bring that up, because that's what we do here. I really do spend time. I hope you feel. Of course, you have to do your own research and don't trust everything I say. But I give you my word that I do try to be clear. I try to follow up sources. I want to make sure that each person I'm looking at is someone who has a degree of credibility that's worth paying attention to. And then I follow up on the direct resource. That's like with the executive orders. Go to the executive orders directly and read them when you can. All right. So this is what. So I went. I want to get this Grossi guy from UN, and I found it. And we share that. We'll just read it, just a brief part, just to verify what this Fox correspondent is saying is accurate. And I once again thank you for those of you that are allowing me into your lives in terms of listening to the show and passing on the word. And I love it, and I'm humbled by the responsibility of it. Really, I take it seriously. Whether it's a very small audience or very big, like that book said, I feel calling to share. I'm not a news service. I'm not a journalist. I'm giving my take. I'm sharing my journey with you, and it's your journey through the dialogue back. So it's our journey, and thank you. I don't take it for granted. Reuters. This is from January 22nd, 2025. So this is the day before the Fox correspondent's tweet. Iran is pressing the gas pedal. That's the exact quote. So you see how they line up? And it's important to verify in this world because there's a lot of information out there. We can't take everything at face value. Reuters. Iran is pressing the gas pedal on uranium enrichment, IAEA chief says. This is by Leila de Cresta. Okay? Reuters. There he is, Director General. He looks like a UN guy, doesn't he? Wow. Look at that tie. He must be an Italian. Is he Italian? International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA Director General Rafael Grossi arrives on the opening day of the agency's quarterly Board of Governors meeting at the headquarters in Vienna, Austria. Okay. Here we go. Davos, Switzerland, January 22nd, Reuters. Iran is pressing the gas pedal on its enrichment of uranium to near weapons grade, UN watchdog chief Rafael Grossi said on Wednesday, adding that Iran's recently announced acceleration in enrichment was starting to take effect. Grossi said last month that Iran had informed the International Atomic Energy Agency that it would, quote unquote, dramatically accelerate enrichment of uranium to up to 60% purity, closer to the roughly 90% weapons grade. So it's a matter of the purity, okay? And for energy is one level, for weapons grade is another. So they're going up to 60%. 90% is what you need for weapons grade. Just two more paragraphs. Western powers called the step a serious escalation and said there was no civil justification for enriching to that level and that no other country had done so without producing nuclear weapons. So that's what I just summarized for you. So it's the percentage of purity, and that no other country, there's no civil justification. There's no use for that level, except for producing weapons, and no other country has ever gone to that level without producing nuclear weapons. So all indications point that this is where they're going, and we knew that. And the deal that Obama struck with them, and it's been a debacle, the American policy toward Iran. Iran has said its program, and the Iranian people. This isn't with the Iranian people. The Iranian people want to be free. They want to live peacefully, just like citizens of all nations want to. The majority of them want, a great majority want to live lives like we live. Not the same, but when I say like we live, lives of our own conscience, that we live and breathe the way we want to live. Not these extremists, not just a few leaders, but just the people. They want to live. They want to raise their children. They want to work and make money and then remind their children that they're blessed from God. They come from God and they're blessed by God. But the Iranian leaders won't allow it. They won't allow a democratic Iran. Iran said its program is entirely peaceful and has the right to enrich uranium to any level it wants. Quote, before it was producing more or less 7 kilograms of uranium enriched to up to 60% per month. Now it's above 30 or more than that. So it's increased. So I think it is clear indication of an acceleration. They are pressing the gas pedal, Grossi told reporters at the World Economic Forum in Davos. According to an International Atomic Energy yardstick, about 42 kilograms of uranium enriched to that level is enough to, in principle, if enriched further, for one nuclear bomb. Grossi said Iran currently had about 200 kilograms of uranium enriched to up to 60%. So, there it is. All right. Still, he said it would take time to install and bring online the extra centrifuges, machines that enrich uranium, but that the acceleration was starting to happen. We're going to start seeing steady increases from now, he said. All right. So that verifies the Fox correspondent report. It's a concern. So why? Why do we go from the great George Washington and the statement of faith? George, first I saw with Trump and pardoning these pro-life people who were prosecuted unfairly under the Biden administration, and quickly just from that story go to the beauty of Washington's letter to the Hebrew congregation in Rhode Island about what true religious liberty is. And then a reminder that young people are not being educated properly about the Holocaust. Anti-Semitism on the rise. We saw it in the universities. And then Iran, the enemy of the Jewish people, the leaders of Iran, the government of Iran. And we need to always distinguish between the people of a country and its leaders. Sometimes very similar, sometimes not. All right. Let me go here. And I share the next. So we got confirmation that Iran, and now why? Okay. And this is a side note that's important. And it's about the geopolitics of the whole nature and why Trump has a really important mission here. And we pray. What do we pray for? We pray for peace. So here I go. I'm sharing with you the Wall Street Journal, and it's just going to be the first paragraph. Make sure I'm sharing. I am. All right. This is what I want to show you. The Wall Street Journal is reporting. This is from January 23rd by Lawrence Norman and Benoit Faucon. China is helping supply chemicals for Iran's ballistic missile program. This is not nuclear, but ballistic missile. Tehran's weapons program got pummeled last year. Now it's relying on Beijing to rebuild. Okay, Beijing to rebuild. And Iran's president, next to a display of missiles at a ceremony in Tehran on Thursday to commemorate the death of the general who was killed in a U.S. drone attack in 2020. 2 Iranian ships docked in China have been loaded with a critical ingredient to produce propellant for ballistic missiles. People familiar with the matter said, a demonstration of the challenge the Trump administration will have in pressing China to reduce its cooperation with Iran. So here we go. Here's the groundwork. Right? We have China, Iran, and Russia. And then we have the West, of course, led by the United States. This Ukraine debacle has to be resolved. There is no reason that we can't be peaceful with Russia. The history of this is so interesting. I'm going to go into it in different shows, about Kennedy, and also the Kennedy assassination papers being, all the files are going to be released, declassified. And why was Kennedy assassinated? A lot of people believe it was because he actually made overtures to have peace with Russia. And his great speech, right, his last major speech before he was assassinated at American University, right, and his overtures to Khrushchev, and Khrushchev seeming to be open, and then maybe some forces don't want that peace or that relationship. But why? Why can't, and then, the obsession with people thinking if they take Ukraine, then they're going to move into Poland, and there's really no signs of that. Okay. And it's complicated. The relationship of Russia mainland with Ukraine and certain, there were treaties, there were agreements. It's complex. But if you break it down from, when I say both sides, it's not, when you look at both sides, you don't mean that you're equating them or saying one's right or that they're both right. No, you could believe one's really wrong, one's right, but you can still look at both sides. You can start to, and maybe use a little, and then you say, okay, and then that's how you have to understand where the other parties are coming from. So the situation in Ukraine is very complex. Okay. And then the presumption of certain people that's going to lead, if he takes Ukraine, he's going to come right into Europe. And because it's a NATO issue, it's very complex. And I really do believe that Russia and the United States can be at peace. We're not at peace right now. You're not at peace right now when Biden gave permission for U.S. missiles to be fired from Ukraine onto Russian soil. That's not a peace. It's like proxy war. Okay, so Trump's in. Trump will deal with Putin. But this is why it's so important, because if you can have peace with Russia, well, then China is a separate issue. You deal with them through trade, okay, and then Iran gets isolated. But right now, what Biden did is by taking this stance with Ukraine and other positions, they pushed Russia away, pushed China away, which brings China and Russia together, and they use Iran, and Iran's not isolated. They got these two big brothers. So this is why all this is tied together. So China helping Iran. Iran supporting Hamas. Hamas, October 7th. Our closest ally, one of our closest allies, Israel. And the destruction of human life based on religion, which brings us back to one of the principles of our great nation. And George Washington's letter, and Trump pardoning those people who have a right to protest about the closing of abortion centers. Okay, there are, of course, details we can discuss, but that's when you fly high. You're not flying high like a drone, because fly high like an eagle, and you see things from above. China, Russia, Iran, Middle East, Hamas, Gaza, Israel, Europe, NATO, Canada, Mexico, United States, borders, trade, relationship, broad, macro, like an eagle. St. John, the eagle, you fly above, and then you come down into the situation. You come down like the eagle does into the lake, and it grabs the fish that it's after, and it deals with that. It takes its food. And that's what we need to do. We need, as human beings, to fly high and then understand and then come down and deal with the situation that we need to deal with. This is not a good sign. China helping supply chemicals for Iran's ballistic missile. Iran sent missiles into Israel, didn't they? Thank God, the missile shield, the protection, they shot down the missiles. But where do those missiles? So now China's helping them. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with Trump and Putin and Russia and the United States and the trade deals with China. Okay, leads me. I'm going to go to the next one. I got them right in a row. This is really good. I'm proud of this, actually, because I think I feel inspired by it. Okay. Why? I'm going to read one article, though, before I go into what Trump's first move. And This really talks about Iran, because I think it's important for Americans to understand what Iran is doing, okay, and why Iran cannot be allowed to get a nuclear weapon, and why we really our interest is to create a situation where China and Russia are not motivated to assist Iran. So there's a writer named or an advocate for democratic Iran. She came over. Her name is Mariam Memar-Shadigi. Excuse me, I can't say or pronounce it right. Mariam Memar-Shadigi. Okay, and she is a founder of the Cyrus Forum for Iran's Future, a senior fellow at the McDonald-Laurier Institute. Let me just give you a little more background. She is a leading proponent for a democratic Iran. She emigrated to the U.S. as a child during the Iranian Revolution, and she is one of 43 American immigrants profiled in President George W. Bush's book, Out of Many, One. So she's Iranian. She came over here during the revolution as a child. She's a big proponent of a democratic Iran. Remember how I was just talking about the people of Iran are different than the government or the rulers of Iran. Okay. She also, check this out. See the connection? She's a correspondent for contributor, I should say, for The Tablet. We love The Tablet. Great magazine that started out as a Jewish magazine, and now it's just covering all kinds of world. And they also say the same thing. So we have, again, here's who are we listening to? Important. Just like we took the Fox correspondent, match it to the Reuters. Okay, our information looks good. Now we're going to hear about a good, insightful approach to Iran and their role in October 7th. And she writes for The Tablet, and let's go to the article. The article is in the Hoover institution, which we know from Victor Davis Hanson. So let me share that. So that's a good publication. All right. So I really, I know I beat the drum hard on this about where our sources are and who we're listening to, but I think it's important because I want you to have a healthy degree of trust in that what I'm saying. I'm really trying to verify and provide good information and give you the sources so you can go check yourself. Okay. And if you find something that's wrong, tell me. I am totally open. I'm open to being wrong. I just want to discover the truth. And it's not my truth. It's the truth. It's God's truth. So this is Hoover Institution. Okay. This is their publication. It's called The Caravan. Okay. And here's an article by the woman I just, Mariam Memar-Shadigi. Okay. Who I just spoke about. The root cause of October 7, Iran's regime. This is important. See how the show flows? Right? Trump, religious liberty. Okay, to step back from that specific issue, to George Washington's letter, his beautiful letter, to our relationship with our Jewish brothers and sisters, to anti-Semitism on the rise, and the denial of the Holocaust, or the misunderstanding of the Holocaust, or lack of education about the Holocaust, to Iran enriching uranium, to stepping on the gas pedal toward a nuclear weapon, and their direct hatred for Israel. China assisting them for ballistic missiles, the axis between China, Russia, and Iran. Trump hopefully dealing with Putin, so we can be at peace. Deal with Ukraine, deal with China, get that resolved in terms of our trade relations. Which, if we have peace in those realms, then Iran gets isolated. Okay, all right. The root cause of October 7, Iran's regime. It's important to establish why Iran needs to be isolated. For students condemning Israel in protest on America's campuses, the October 7 terror attack is to be ignored, whitewashed, denied, justified, and even celebrated. To really think about the savagery and profound suffering on October 7 would elicit empathy for other humans who were Jews. So this is how she starts, that these students they're ignoring it. Okay, here we go. That was the subtitle. For students condemning Israel in protest on America's campuses, the October 7th terror attack is to be ignored, whitewashed, denied, justified, and even celebrated. To really think about the savagery and profound suffering of October 7th would elicit empathy for other humans who are Jews. To speak honestly about the killing, gang rape, mutilation of even babies, torture, scorching, public humiliation, and hostage taking would require reflection on the existential threat to the Jewish people and the state of Israel by Islamists. It would require thinking about how Islamist genocidal hatred for Jews is one and the same as the Nazi dehumanization that resulted in the Holocaust. The singular horror that forever marks mankind's capacity for evil. It would require an examination of the modern ideological drivers of such terror and the training, financing, technology, weaponry, and international propaganda needed to sustain it. Strong words. It is easier for student protesters to begin and end with their outrage with only Israel's bombing of Gaza and the suffering of Gazans. And this is just what Hamas and its backer, the Islamic Republic of Iran, intend. This is, remember, she's an Iranian. She left during she was born in Iran, came to America during the Iranian Revolution. Iran's regime has demonstrated its willingness to kill via execution, assassination, torture, and indiscriminate shooting on the streets of Iran, as well as through its sponsorship of terror and wars abroad, and notably through Bashar Assad's war on the Syrian nation that has taken the lives of over 500,000. For 45 years, Tehran has promulgated resistance in the name of the Palestinian people, but in reality has sacrificed the lives and livelihood of Palestinians at every turn to sustain its rule. The war that Israel has been forced to wage has resulted in the deaths of Palestinian civilians, as well as losses for Hamas, the Houthis, and other regime terror proxies. But for the Ayatollahs, these are expendable lives and proxy forces. Their quote-unquote martyrdom ensures the survival of the Islamic Republic itself as a revolutionary state and an imperial Islamist project founded on hatred of Jews and Israel as oppressors. It transcends the Shia and Sunni split and even the geography of the Middle East, sending resentment and conspiratorial anti-Semitic worldviews at even the most elite American universities, as evidenced by the Hezbollah flag displayed at Princeton University, not to mention the physical assault of Jewish students and persecution of Jewish professors. See? So many intelligent people out there who understand, know these situations, and are brave enough to write things like this so that we can have good information and what Iran's up to and what's really going on with Palestine and Gaza and October 7th. And then we fly above like that eagle and we get a good view. And then we put people in office that we believe can help, right? And you isolate somebody like Iran so that they have to stop because they can't get a weapon. They can't get a weapon. They can't get a nuclear weapon. We can't allow that. She goes on, Israel's killing of Gazans is what Iran's regime wants. It fuels global outrage and is a propaganda victory, mobilizing opposition to the Israeli state from the most educated and privileged of the West. Liberals in the West may be united in support of Ukraine, but Israelis fighting for the very same values and right to exist are not only denied support, they are publicly shamed. Israel's war produces a universal propaganda victory for Iran's regime in the form of an illiberal, reactionary solidarity for Palestine. Secondarily, the effects in America, the great Satan, as that's what Iran calls us, the great Satan, are especially potent, including social polarization, a sense of chaos, self-loathing, cynicism, and the breakdown of respect for the university. There's not much commentary to give here because she's just powerful. This is a moral failing of the West, but one that is calculated political strategy on behalf of the Islamic Republic of Iran to weaken democratic states, exert its soft power, export its ideology, and buttress itself as it pursues a nuclear weapons program Nuclear weapons program. See? The UN gentlemen saying they're putting the foot on the gas. They're accelerating their program. China's helping ballistic missiles. Ukraine goes on. Nuclear weapons program and expands global domination for the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps. Mafia overlords. These overlords and the Hamas leadership are comfortably ensconced in their luxury homes in Tehran and Dora, exulting in the damage to Israel's international image from the war they have forced upon it. Meanwhile, the Islamic Republic sells oil to China, despite U.S. sanctions, and its diplomats and lobbyists manage to shield the IRGC from terrorism designations and sanctions from the European Union, Canada, Australia, and other democratic nations. The Islamic Republic wins from both the October 7 attack itself and from Israel's response to it. The regime's supreme leader, Ali I never can say his name, was quick to celebrate the slaughter with a video on X showing young Israelis running for their lives out the outdoor Nova Music Festival. Shortly after he provided plausible deniability of any Iranian involvement, a claim President Joe Biden affirmed publicly just days after, despite reporting of the regime's direct involvement by the Wall Street Journal. An IRGC spokesman even claimed the October 7 attack was retaliation for the U.S. assassination of former Qud's former commander, before retracting the statement because of a spat with Hamas. The Biden administration has compartmentalized Hamas from its backer, the Islamic Republic, with which it continues to hold mediated bilateral negotiations that its state media has also confirmed, even after its direct bombing of Israel. I'm going to finish it. Let me see how many we got. Yeah, I'm going to keep going because she points out what needs to happen. Okay? The October 7 attack was timed to shift the focus from fundamental challenges to the survival of the decayed, inept Islamic theocracy. What we're not. I talk about in the beginning of the show. We don't have a state religion. Iranians' unprecedented nationwide mobilization for peaceful overthrow, the women life for freedom movement, was being brutally suppressed at home as Hamas butchered in Israel. Had the community of democratic nations seized the opportunity and found the will to support the mass uprising in Iran, rather than give mere lip service to the violation of Iranians' human rights, the seat of Islamist revolutionary terror could have been sacked, and a difficult but viable transition to a responsible, reasonable Iran at peace with Israel and the world could well have been fostered. Instead, with the October 7 attack and his IRGC henchmen sealed the indifference of Western politicians toward Iranian liberal aspirations and enabled the regime to tighten its grip on the thousands of young protesters it was torturing and raping inside its prisons. The expansion of the Abraham Accords was also in the sights of the Ayatollahs. It was imperative that a new bilateral peace between Saudi Arabia be thwarted. The shock and awe of October 7 was so severe, and Israeli response to it so massive, that it forced the Saudis to cancel overtures to the Israeli government. October 7 took the Middle East backward to a time when the world media attention on the regime was dull and flat, concerned only with the seemingly implacable anti-Israel conflict, rather than the hopeful transformation by Iranians and Saudis pressing for an entirely new future. Okay. The Iran regime's role in the October 7 attack is fundamental and a manifestation of its daily death to Israel chants and call to wipe Israel off the map. The Biden administration, however, has chosen to minimize the fact that Hamas has been developed and directed by Tehran, deflecting scrutiny from the world's top state sponsor of terror. The appeasement mindset helped Tehran to believe it could get away with a massive terror attack on Israel in the first place. The Biden foreign policy is predicated on a worldview that seeks to end American presence in the Middle East region, has little interest in aiding democracy movements to topple authoritarians, rejects the Obama administration, as did the Obama administration, The post 9/11 vision to link democratization with security and sustainable peace in the region sees appeasement of the Ayatollahs as means to minimize instability and its own involvement in the region, and so has lifted the maximum pressure placed on the regime by the Trump administration. But feeding the crocodile has resulted in only a bigger appetite, as the delisting of the Houthis, a first move by the Biden administration to show its willingness to please Tehran, proved quickly. On the nuclear file, too, Iran's regime has taken advantage of Washington's overtures and willingness to turn a blind eye on sanctions to up its enrichment. Everything we've been talking about. Obviously, this is written before the election of Trump, but it's good to remember what Trump is walking into. This is the situation the Biden administration has done, and Obama before him. Okay, we have to remember the deals that Trump did broker during his first term. He should have won the Nobel Prize Nobel Peace Prize. And the media bias. I mean, Obama won a Peace Prize and he didn't even do anything. Just by being elected, he earned a prize. Okay.